Oh.
Hey, made it there.
All right, it's 9:30. Are we ready? You guys ready?
I'm ready. Are you?
There's Tony, everybody's in place. Good morning, everybody. We're gonna open the meeting with our, as usual, with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I guess as the most tenured board member, welcome to our March 6th meeting and our reorganization meeting. I have the privilege of giving the oath to both Terry and Henry Curtis. And I'm gonna start with Henry and then I'll do Terry. Yeah, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Henry F. Curtis IV,
Okay, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions of the United States and of the state of Ohio,
that I will support the constitutions of the United States and of the state of Ohio,
that I will enforce the election laws,
that I will enforce the election laws,
protect and preserve the records and property pertaining to elections,
protect and preserve the records and property pertaining to elections,
and perform my duties as a member of the Board of Elections to the best of my ability.
and perform my duties as a member of the Board of Elections to the best of my ability.
This I shall do as I shall answer to God.
This I shall do as I shall answer unto God.
All right, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, and Terry? Okay, yeah, raise your right hand and I state your name.
I, Terrence M. McCaffrey,
Okay, do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions of the United States and of the state of Ohio,
that I will support the constitutions of the United States and the state of Ohio,
that I will enforce the election laws,
that I will enforce the election laws,
protect and preserve the records and property pertaining to elections,
protect and preserve the property pertaining to elections,
and the records and property pertaining to elections, okay, and perform my
and
duties
perform my duties
as a member of the Board of Elections
as a member of the Board of Elections
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
This I shall do
This I shall do
as I answer unto God.
as I answer unto God.
All right, well done.
Thank you.
All right, guys. All right, so we need to elect a temporary chairperson. So do we have a motion to elect a temporary
I
chairperson?
make a motion if I Joe. Secretary Chair.
Okay,
I will second.
second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so, let's see. We need to acknowledge the board member appointments of Secretary of State, board member appointment of Henry F. Curtis IV, and the reappointment of Terrence McCaffrey. So is there a motion to so acknowledge?
I will make the motion to acknowledge the appointments of Henry F. Curtis and Terrence McCafferty as board members of Cuyahoga County Board of Elections.
Great, I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. And we need to then move to appoint a director. Can we get it?
Chairman,
Yes,
I would place in the nomination our current director, Anthony Pilati.
I will second that.
okay. Motion to appoint Tony Pilati as director of our agency. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we would need a motion. Now we need a motion to appoint deputy director.
Madam Chair, I nominate Anthony N. Gallagher to be our deputy director. I move Anthony Gallagher.
Okay, is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, that's fine. All in, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, congratulations, guys. And now we need to nominate, make a motion to nominate a chairperson. Do you have a motion?
I'll make the motion to nominate Henry Curtis.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, congrats.
Thank you.
And the floor is yours.
Thank you. First, let me just say thank you to my colleagues for entrusting me with this responsibility, and I look forward to serving with each and every one of you. As we move on with the agenda, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 13th, 2013 board meeting.
To move.
Moved by Board Member Chappelle. Is there a second?
I will second.
Second by Board Member Stickett. For the record, I will recuse myself from this vote as I was not a member
That's right.
of the board at that meeting.
Okay.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
one thing, we just need to have you give Tony and Tony the oath.
Oh, okay.
Before you do this. All right.
I'll do it separate. Okay, Mr. Prelati, I state your name.
I, Anthony Perlotti,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States and of the state of Ohio,
of the United States and the state of Ohio,
that I will enforce the election laws,
that I will enforce the election laws,
protect and preserve the records
protect and preserve the records
and property pertaining to elections,
and property pertaining to elections,
and perform my duties
and perform my duties
as a member of the Board of Elections
as a member of the Board of Elections
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
This I shall do,
This I shall do,
as I shall answer
as I shall answer
unto God.
unto God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I state your name.
I, Anthony Gallagher,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the constitutions
that I will support the Constitution
of
of
the United States and of the state of Ohio,
the United States and the state of Ohio,
that I will enforce the election laws,
that I will enforce the election laws,
protect and preserve the records
protect and preserve the records
and property pertaining to elections,
and property pertaining to elections,
and perform my duties
and perform my duties
as a member
as a member
of
of
the Board of
the
Elections
Board of Elections
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
This I shall do,
This I shall do,
as I shall answer unto God.
as I shall answer unto God.
Congratulations. Thank you. And we have approved the minutes. We will now, I will move to acknowledge the Secretary of State directives and advisories, the updated Directive 2023-03, Substitute House Bill 458, Directive 2023-04, ballots for the May 2nd, 2023 primary/special election, Directive 2023-05, data collection, notice and cancellation procedures for completion of 2019 National Change of Address process, Advisory 2023-01, House Bill 487, changes regarding ballot printing requirements, and Advisory 2023-02, biennial adjustment of recount charges, campaign contribution limit adjustment. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. It is so ordered. I move the approval of our Cuyahoga County ballot curbside policy. And if there's a second,
Second.
there's a second. Director Pallotti, do you have any context for us in this matter?
Sure. So the curbside policy you have before you, this is rooted out of when there was updates to the election official manual last year. There were some additional policies that the board should adopt. This one actually was optional, but we were going to go ahead and put a policy in place. It's pretty simple. So we've been doing curbside voting for a long time. And what we do with this policy is we define what we're going to do at the polls on election day, or here during early person voting when someone does curbside vote. We will, where previously that ballot, when the individual was done voting, would be placed into an envelope, and that envelope would then be transported here to the board on election night, and staff would process that post-election. We will now scan that ballot on election day. So we will do the whole front part of the process stays the same. Bipartisan team of poll workers go out, they bring the poll book, people sign in, they get them the ballot, and they go through that whole process. The difference is now when someone votes, instead of the ballot going into an envelope, come here, it'll go into a secrecy sleeve. That bipartisan team will bring it into the polling location. We'll scan it through a DS200 scanner, or whatever equipment we're using at that point in time. And then those vote totals will be captured on that scanner and then actually will be reported on election night. If, when those poll workers go to scan the ballot, and if the ballot doesn't scan, and it can be for a few reasons. Examples being, they take the stub off and it tears the bottom off and the machine won't read it. Or if an individual overvoted a contest, when that happens, there's a question to be answered. Well, we don't want the poll workers answering that question. Then at that point in time, a ballot that doesn't successfully scan will go into that same envelope that we had, will come down here. And the ballot department will then use the same processes that they use for vote by mail, as well as our remake policy, depending on what the fact pattern is, to either remake the ballot or scan the ballot as is, depending on how it was marked, to process that. So what we're doing is we're stating that basically curbside voting, we will scan those ballots when they're cast by the voters, whether in person or on election day, at that time.
Question, I have a question. So really, the policy addresses the manner in which we're scanning in the ballots, but I just am wondering, how are we gonna determine that a voter is physically unable to access the polling location? And maybe it's not a big deal to make that determination, but I know when during COVID, we had a lot of people just, for the convenience of curbside voting, whether they were disabled or not. And I know you can't necessarily look at somebody and know if they're disabled, but how do we make that determination? And clearly, the policy doesn't really address, I mean, it states very clearly, though,
Yeah.
that they have to be physically unable to access the polling location. So how are we gonna train staff? How are the poll workers? I mean, how do we make that, how are we responsible for making that determination, given the clear language in the policy?
You don't. The person appears, and if they indicate that they need to use curbside voting because they can't make that in, good
That's
enough.
it.
Good enough.
Okay.
That's
system.
the litmus test.
Okay,
That they
that's, I
say
just wanted to make sure that's,
because we're not physicians. We're not gonna make people get out, touch their nose, jump, do jumping jacks and see what that's just not gonna happen. So we will go ahead and continue. And I also have been told that potentially that Secretary of State's office might be giving all boards some guidance, kind of similar to that effect of if someone self-claims, you take their word for it.
and we let our poll workers, we let the polling location officials know that.
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Can I ask a question as well? So that's any ballot that doesn't scan? That comes in from curbside.
From curbside,
You don't
yes.
go back out and say,
No, because at that point, the voter could be gone.
okay,
And so, in what we don't necessarily want our poll workers to troubleshoot the reason why,
and,
because it could be a series of things.
oh, no, you don't, yeah.
And so we want, it's best, we feel it's best, just put it in an envelope and send it down here. And then our staff will look at it and better determine why didn't it work? And then how do we treat vote by mail ballots in the same situation, other types of ballots, and then process accordingly.
So circles are not quite filled in, things of that nature do get corrected.
Well, like I said, if the machine takes it at first swipe,
Yeah, no
then there you
problem.
go. But if it comes back,
Right.
it's not, it's just put it in the
There's a
envelope,
lot of reasons why.
send it down.
So we follow our remake policy. in
Yes.
Circumstances like that, so.
Exactly. Our staff here are much better versed and suited to do that case by case review of it.
Thank you. Any other questions from our board members? We have a motion on the floor. We're ready for the question. All in favor of approving this policy, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. On to agenda item 5. I move the approval of our Midwest contract extension. We have Ms. Walker, I believe, coming up to the podium to give us some context on this.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded by Ms. Chappelle. Ms. Walker?
Hi, good morning. So what we're doing with the Midwest, their currently contract goes to May 1st of 2023. We are extending the time only of the contract to expire on May 31st, 2023. Twofold: one, process of getting the bid together together for the new contract term. We want to get the contract period away strictly from election day. As it currently stands, contracts are expiring right before the election. When the election closes out, have to recount or making of any additional ballots. We'll still have them on contract to continue the election process until it's finalized.
Any other questions, comments from the board?
Was there a second reason? You said twofold, I wasn't
Oh,
sure.
well, one, to get the contract away, I'm sorry.
Okay.
From the
Got
election cycle, and two, to have them, if it should have any.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to follow up, we will soon, hopefully by the end of March, be releasing a new bid for printing for a longer period of time, like a 2-year window. And one of the advisories that you acknowledged today was 2301, speaks to changes in ballot printing rules, as well as now, this, knock on wood, may should be the last time we use our current voting equipment. So even the new equipment, there'll be some different things that we will build into that bid to accommodate the new system.
Anything else? All right, well, we're ready for the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. It is so ordered. Agenda item 6, I move the approval of our vouchers and resolutions.
Second.
It's seconded by Ms. Chappelle. Ms. Walker, any context of that?
Yeah, so there are two vouchers, well, under the voucher resolution section. So just to give you some context, what we do now, well, I come to the board and I ask for a resolution to first the authority to approve the procurement or whatever. For that particular moment, that resolution also gives the authority to make the payment so that we can keep our vendors paid in a timely manner, get them paid in 30 days from getting the task. The first item is the transportation and storage services for this May election. Our current contract expired December 31st. In order to get through the May election, we did the one-time payment with our current vendor during the process so that we can get through the May election. We are currently in the process of putting together the bid once we figure out our footprint and we actually putting it to go forward with a 2-year term as we have previously with the current vendor. But open up to the the second item we have is with the purchase of our new ballot equipment, we got some authority from our county council board to purchase additional items that we need to improve our entire process and come with the new equipment. The item we have ordered on voting bags. This resolution is the payment authorized, the payment to pay for bags that's not.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, will all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, inside, the ayes have it. It is so ordered. Thank you. I move the approval to send the voter information guide to all active voters in Cuyahoga County for the May 2nd, 2023 primary election.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any,
Again, we're blessed to send this. The county always supports us doing this information. There will be information on this particular voter information guide, drawing people's attention that photo ID is required at the polls. And then we have listed all the acceptable forms of ID that someone can utilize for that. So we have that piece of information on there. We're advertising our website to bring people there because there's going to be ongoing changes as we lead up. And one of the things that we've always done is put their polling location on there. And if it is a change location, there's just a little line that says polling location change. So we put that little alert there. This guide does incorporate the new, or at least for May's voting hours, which are different. No more voting on Monday. Those hours have been moved to the previous week, so it will capture those. And it also speaks to the new deadline for vote by mail applications being the 7th day before the election.
Actually, it just, will the voter information guide like flag it in some bold way, these changes, or, I mean, I don't know what the design looks like, but will it somehow be highlighted, some of these changes? And then my second question is, will we have the Warrensville Heights situation resolved, polling location issue resolved before we send these out.
So both of those things, the first is the ID piece up in the upper left-hand corner. It's only like one of two pieces of information that we say about the ID. Now, the IDs are down at the bottom, so I think we do have some bolding to make that. The voting hours, it just lists what they are, and it doesn't say that they're new. I'm not really don't. You can get too confusing if you try to do too much of that little thing. So as far as bringing it to their attention, that's kind of what we're doing with it. Warrensville Heights, what will happen is we will go in production for everything but Warrensville Heights, and that will get pulled because we won't send those cards until we have that rectified. So right now, for those of you that, or as a reminder, Warrensville Heights, they just notified us that they can't be a polling location. That particular city, all the voters voted in one location. So we were voting in one location that we had to move out of because of construction in 2022 to a new location. That location is
That
now
was a community center, right?
community center first. Across the street, now that's under construction, so we have both of them still. Election support has started, and we know for sure that we will be using at least the Warrensville Heights Library, the Cuyahoga County Branch Library there. Their senior center. There's 12 precincts, doesn't cover all of those. And we're trying to see if we can also potentially use maybe City Hall or one of the elementary schools in the area. So we hope to have that resolved by midweek this week. So we get that set in, and then that will be, not only will that be captured in the voter information guide for those municipalities, we'll also send out a separate letter saying your poll place has changed. And it seems like there's I don't know, just a little bit of the mayor and the school board don't necessarily want to come together and talk with us. So I will make that happen. They will talk with us because per code, a public building, we have the ability to go in there and use it as a poll place. They like to do that nicely. It's part of a partnership, but when push comes to shove, we are less than 60 days away. We'll do what we have to do to get it locked in for those voters. Messing with me.
Anything else from the board? Okay, ready for the question. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Walker. Candidate and petition services. I move the acknowledgement of resignation from an appointment to elected office. A resignation from elected office, Don Carboni McDonald, North Royalton City Council, Member of Council, Ward 5. An appointment to elected office, Mark R. Major, Cleveland Municipal Court Judge, unexpired term ending January 2nd, 2024. And Monica Wilson, Parma City Council, Member of Council, Ward 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Chappelle. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Under number 9, I move the certification of candidates and issue for the May 2nd, 2023 primary election. Second, and by Ms. Chappelle, Mr. Lawler.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Morning.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
We had a filing deadline on Friday, and Anthony Leon Alexander filed as a council at large, a nonpartisan. And after we took positions in and started reviewing them, so we could signature check, he noticed that he did not complete the written acceptance on the back of the petition. We called the candidate, unfortunately did not answer a phone call to get back down there. We reached out to the law director, who I believe is on Zoom, and the candidate is in the audience. You should have an email from her indicating that it's her opinion that we should not certify, that it is required by the charter. And when you file, you have to have a written acceptance. That's our recommendation, that we do not certify into the ballot.
Heard from staff, any questions from the board?
I don't know if you want to hear from Mr. Alexander.
Yes, Mr. Alexander here, but we will invite Mr. Alexander, if you're in the audience, we would invite you to come forth, sir. You may approach and speak from the podium.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Would you please state your name and your address for the record, please, sir?
Name's Anthony Leon Alexander. And my address is 77 Prospect, Toledo, Ohio.
Thank you, sir. What would you like to say to the board?
Well, everything that you said is correct, and I missed this call in the email. By the time I got it, it was too late. And I mean, just honestly, I overlooked that part. I thought at first it was something we would do when I came down Friday. Then I just kind of overlooked it. And, all I want us to do. That's all I can say.
Okay, well, we certainly want to thank you for availing yourself for public service, but we're bound by the laws of our state and your municipality. And I intend to support the recommendation of staff. And if in fact you're inclined to run again, now that you've had this opportunity, you know the lay of the land so that
Right,
the
right.
same mistake won't be made twice.
Right.
But thank you, sir.
No one readiness on my-
Okay, no one readiness? Okay, so on item number 9, all in favor of the certification of the candidates and issue for the May 2nd, 2023 primary, vote aye.
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 Aye, and it is so ordered. Thank you. Item 10, I move the certification of.
Oh, do we need to do,
The motion to not
do we need
accept.
to do a motion to not accept?
A motion,
Not to.
yes, for Mr.
Okay,
From Mr.
so,
Alex.
so,
Not certified.
oh, I move not to certify Anthony Alexander to the ballot for the May 2nd, 2023 primary election.
Correct.
Second, okay. Any unreadiness?
Well, just for a comment for the record, I mean, it's interesting to notice those details, and it's where the charters come into play. That's why, you know, I just think, you know, I know as candidates get their paperwork, I know we give them the information, it's important they check with their charters too. So it's just a reminder, you know, so thank you for that.
It is not a requirement that you have, that's true. It's a
Right.
Charter driven.
Charter driven. So just to make that distinction for people, and that's where this year gets so interesting because you're dealing with all the charters. So thank you, appreciate it.
So we have that motion on the floor. Is there any unreadiness?
Mhm.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. Thank you. I move to certify the Berea candidates nominated without primary election to the November 7th, 2023 general election. Primaries eliminated per Ohio Revised Code 3513.02.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Ms. Chappelle. Mr. Walton. Okay. Any unreadiness? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I move authorizing the adjustment of recount charges to the maximum amount of $70 per precinct for requested non-automatic recounts pursuant to Ohio Secretary of State Advisory 2023-02.
Second motion.
Seconded by Ms. Chappelle. Any questions or unready? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, and it is so ordered. We're going to move past 12 for now and go to new business. And I will ask Director Pilati to speak to the capital project.
Thank you. I just, 2 quick things. We'll start with Hallie and the elevators. Where I felt like a little bit, we were kind of spinning our wheels. And finally, Tony and I have gotten through to Director Dever. We need to get something happening. So Public Works Director Dever did last week meet with the landlord at Hallie, some of his team members, and it seems like they've moved things along. Director Dever told me that they will be able to find the funding in order to fund the replacement of the elevators. And he's going to have his staff start looking into with the city for pulling permits and what it would take to temporarily put a construction elevator on the side of the building to go from floors 1 to 2. You know, that would involve removing a window, cutting some brick, and getting that, but having that as a safeguard in case the elevator goes down, as well as they're repairing the elevator, have that.
Will that happen before the May 2nd election?
That will not. So that will be, hopefully the current elevator will keep working, and if not, we'll be using the alternate elevators, exactly. I think,
Alternate, where would we have alternate elevators?
so on the, all the way on the northern side of the dock, so where the trucks, where the semis pull in, there's a smaller elevator over there. It's a little bit larger passenger elevator. We really don't use that. We don't have access to it, but we could get access to it, and that does stop on second floor. But so we would have that. So I think maybe Terry's probably more familiar with this, but the construction elevators are definitely a little bit involved. There's a lot of permitting and everything to tie those in for safety regulations and that kind of stuff. And but I'm glad, I feel like we truly have the director of public works like, okay, we're gonna get this done. So that part's good. The other part is property search for a new location for the Board of Elections as a whole. And so Tony and I had an introductory meeting with County Executive Romaine. And one of the items that we talked about was our physical buildings and how we're separated and dated and the elevators and all of that. And he's of the mindset that this agency should operate under one roof, all staffed together. It should be sufficiently sized. There should be limited reliance on an elevator other than for humans to go to an office. So, and there needs to be ample parking. So with that, and we've heard that county council is of the same mindset. So tentatively for this Friday, Public Works will release a request for a proposal that will go out, and the real estate and commercial development environment will be looking for this. And this proposal will be stating the amount of space or tentative space that would be needed and how much of that needs to be at ground level and how much can be floor 2 or higher for office purposes, as well as parking. To try to come up with that number of space, the architecture firm that we worked with to what was going to be the rehab of this building, they used that funding to actually have them do a space allocation, and they're still working on that. They've gone through this whole building as part of trying to rehab it. So they had that information, and then they actually, the architecture firm came back out, met with Tony, Shankita, Vic and Brian were around, and we walked all of Hallie, and we showed them all the nooks and crannies that we utilize, that whether it's ours or not, but we need to, as well as they took a ride out to Berman's Moving and Storage, where we store all of our voting booths, and they took measurements out there to come together to figure out what is the space need. So we have not seen a draft yet of the proposal. It's supposed to come to Shankita this week so we can get some eyes on it before it gets released. Goes out, be out for about 30 days. And the bid, when the individuals who submit, is supposed to be inclusive of also costs for build out, for us to get what we need as far as, you know, the storage offices and those types of things. And then from what the county has told me, it is an involved process that you go back out, look, not a new bid, but you're fine tuning it with the submitters of the bids, and we get there. So I don't know how long all this takes, but this is the most traction we've ever had in making something like this happen. And I don't think it's realistic for all of us to be in a building for next year together for the presidential, unless they can find the perfect property. I think their first goal would be, if they can find that property that ultimately would be our home, okay, how do we make early in-person voting happen there? And then we bring over things. So there's the chance that we could go from 2 buildings to 3 buildings, but that's for the short term. And if you look at, you know, ultimately, if it gets us to where we need to be as one, it's worth it. So we'll keep you updated on how this goes, but there is a lot of support for it. And as we know, obviously this board will get more involved as far as location and things like that.
So, is Berman the only place we had storage? For some reason, I thought we stored in other places.
Now, for right now, it's just Berman's.
Okay.
We kind of tried to consolidate and get as much back here as we can, and I think Berman's is the only location, yeah, that we have.
Just want to
Again,
make sure they, if they're issuing an RFP, they really have covered every possible need that we have, and maybe even give us a little extra space for expansion if we,
Yeah.
needed to, so.
definitely, and I'm not gonna say that maybe we were borrowing space from the archives that doesn't belong to us, but let's say we were. We even walk through those spaces because that's our need. That's what you need for that, so.
I have a question. The new equipment that's coming in, as far as volume, is it about the same size as what we would have now?
Yeah, so the primary precinct scanner, which ES&S is a DS200, and ClearBell, it's called a ClearCast, that footprint is almost identical. Other than it's actually, the ClearCast is a little bit shorter because it's ADA compliant. The DS200 is grandfathered in as being too tall. The ADA unit, which is called Clear Access, that is a little bit bigger. It's about the same size though, roughly like a 2 foot by 2 foot square than an Automark. But what's nice is it's a self-contained unit. Where an Automark, the footprint, when it's stored up this way, so it makes it thinner. But to use it, you have to put it on a table and flip it this way, which makes it bigger. The units that we have are, it looks just like the other one. It's on caster, self-contained, pop the lid, one cord, plug it in, and it's good to go. So a little bit bigger, and not that we intend to do a lot of stacking, but this equipment also has the ability you can stack too high. So there's actually little steel divots or cups in the top 4 of them that fit the casters on another unit if you want to pick them up to do that. You wouldn't transport them like that to a whole place, but if we're in a crunch for space, we can do that. We've actually done a little bit of that as we've received 4 semis, I think. So we're halfway. We'll get 2 more this week. So we're doing what we can to make things fit. Just want to mention I did last Tuesday did go before committee of the whole and presented. And this is all the council members were there and told them what we want to do here, what the recommendation for clear ballot, and they were all very, very supportive of this board, of that selection. And they voted it out of committee to the full body, which was that night for the 2nd reading. And then March 14th will be the 3rd and final reading, which we should have approval. I'll attend there. However, I just be in the audience in case there's an unexpected question that arises to stand in if need be.
Any questions from the board?
Very exciting.
Thank you.
A lot going on.
Thank you. I have not received any requests for public comment. Is there any public comment? All right, hearing none. Thank you. I move that we will go into executive session for the discussion of personnel issues to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, and disputes involving the public body that we are subject of pending or imminent court action and or ongoing litigation. Is there a second?
Second.
And this requires a roll call vote. Ms. Chappelle,
Yes.
Mr. McCafferty.
Yes.
Ms. Sticken.
Yes.
Mr. Curtis, yes. The ayes have it. We are in executive session and we will reconvene shortly. Thank you.
You didn't get to stick around or?
We could just audio the vote on the personnel stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. He'll have to experience.
A lot of times, Jeff or I would just, he didn't need to record it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Congratulations, Tom.